Hi, Narada. Today we have the CEO of Fraser, Mr. Anthony Boyd, who's coming on to talk to us on Lead the Way, which is great. Anthony Boyd runs Fraser Property Group in Australia. Fraser globally is a $38.7 billion property fund with assets from Southeast Asia to Australia, Europe, and China across every single asset class. In Melbourne, they've just delivered Burwood Brickworks, which is an unbelievable shopping center that's probably pushed a lot of boundaries as far as sustainability, outdoor dining, and retail mix that I haven't seen before at that quality and level. So it's gonna be quite exciting to find out more about that center. But this bloke took on his job last month. How about that? Good timing.
Yeah, he's great timing. So he actually was put in the role prior to COVID and started the role during COVID. So fascinating time to start as a CEO. It's certainly not the easiest time to begin a new role. Anthony's such a great guy. I've known him for a long time now. He was previously the head of residential at Fraser's Property. He's now stepped up into a new role, and it will be interesting to really speak to him, not just about residential, which is obviously his background, but also other parts of the company, because they do cover off industrial. They've got holdings in office. They've also got a lot of retail. So, there's a lot going on in terms of multi-asset classes in a very, very big company as well. Anthony, thank you so much for coming on today. It's really such a pleasure. It's a pleasure to see you. I haven't seen you for such a long time. And also just great to be able to hear you talk about Fraser's Property, and more particularly, the fact that you have become, or you've started a new role within the company, and you're actually the CEO, so you've taken on the biggest role during a pandemic. How has your experience throughout your career and at Fraser prepared you for taking on such a big role during such a time, and how's it helping you through this time period?
Yeah, thanks, Nara. It's great to see you as well, and thanks a lot for having me on this. On this great, I think you guys are doing a great job speaking across the industry, and I'm learning a lot from listening to you. But yeah, look, I think I'm quite lucky. I know I've taken over the CEO role in the middle of a pandemic, which probably sounds a bit alarmist, but because I've been in the business for 15 years, I feel like I know the business well. I know a lot of people throughout the business, and that's really helped in my transition. But look, I sort of lived through it. Experience is probably not a full dress rehearsal, but in preparation for a crisis like this, I was actually living in Hong Kong in 2003 when SARS hit. And so it's similar in a lot of ways. So it's a health issue, it's causing economic uncertainty, a direct impact on consumer confidence, there's no known end date, all those sorts of things. And I think from then, I distilled this the other day to someone, but I think there were two main things that I learned in a business sense at that time. And the two biggest things you have to focus on, that's people and cash flow. The people bit was just because, culture is going to always be the most important ingredient to get you through a crisis. And the second part around cash flow, it's just around having that adequate liquidity and really understanding and controlling your cash flow, which is obviously very vital to getting through a crisis as well. So whilst I wouldn't say I was, completely prepared, it still felt like sometimes history was repeating itself.
Anthony, again, thank you for coming on. If you manage to get yourself in front of Scott Morrison, Josh Frydenberg, and or Daniel Andrews, or all three at the same time, what would you be telling them, asking them, or advising them?
Yeah, look, I think the first thing you'd have to do is tip your hat to those guys. I mean, they've obviously worked very hard. They've probably basically worked non-stop for 9 months, so you'd have to thank them. But I think you'd probably have to tier it. So you've named a few different people at different levels there. Look, I personally think the federal government's done a great job. They've really supported those parts of the economy that have needed that support. They've stimulated activity and sort of generated demand as a result of that stimulus, which I think's been great. If I was giving them advice, I'd probably have to say the job's not done yet. It's clear, we're not in the clear yet. We still do need some more support. I'm not talking about our industry necessarily. I'm talking about the broader economy and things like incentives and government spending. are really important at this point, and probably for that medium term, just to drive business and consumer confidence. I guess if you drop down to the state government level, you'd probably argue that performance has been varied. I think New South Wales has done a great job, and I think you probably couldn't give as good a marks to some other governments. I think Vic in particular is probably paying now for some bad early decisions, whether they're around the quarantine and they did a few things there that have probably come back to bite them. And I think what we're seeing now with those border closures in particular are a huge impediment to getting the economy back on track. So if I was giving advice, I'd be saying, we agree we've got to monitor, test as much as possible. We want to make sure we control this pandemic, but I think it's really important we reopen the borders and encourage people to start spending money, especially being this close now to the Christmas holidays.
Yeah. Fraser Property develop and own properties across all asset classes. Has there any asset class that surprised you with their performance in 2020?
Well, I think the biggest surprise for us has probably been the residential sector. It's performed really strongly, and I guess the surprise for me has been that normally in economic downturns you don't see that demand flow through to the residential space. So I think you have to pay credit, as I was saying before, about the federal stimulus, I think, and the state-based stimulus as well. I think that has had an impact, clearly. But it's interesting because even those markets that don't have direct support and that direct application of home builder, for instance, whether it's price points or time frame or even sub-market segments, the demand's still been reasonably strong. So, I'll be honest, it has surprised us a little bit. It's great. I think it is great. And I think the key now is about really sustaining that demand into that medium term where we know that immigration is going to come down. We know the demand from foreign students is going to come down. So how do we sustain that demand and make sure people feel confident, I guess, around investing? And the natural flow on from that is, of course, jobs. The residential construction sector in particular employs a lot of people. So the more we can sustain that demand and drive that from a domestic point of view, while there's a little bit of a gap in immigration and foreign students coming on board, then that'll be a good thing for the economy.
One thing I've really noticed working with you and your team, Anthony, is the strong culture of Fraser. So how have you maintained that culture through the pandemic with everyone locked down and no one in the office? What are some of the things that you've implemented to maintain that?
Yeah, well, that's nice of you to say, Meredith. I know we have worked a lot together, and you probably have seen the business over time. And I know culture has been a strong focus of our business, and that's been for some time. We've really worked on this for probably the best part of the last 10 or 12 years, and that, I guess, the outcome of that is that we've been able to build relationships, and we've sort of generated ways of working efficiently anyway, and that's enabled us to remain productive even when we've worked remotely for a number of months. And obviously our Victorian office is still doing that. So look, it's a really interesting point. I guess what you'd have to think about from us is our culture is very collaborative. That's number one. Number two is that the structure is actually very flat as well. So I guess the combination of those two things means we don't have a lot of politics in our organisation, and that's probably critical when you're making decisions under pressure. And I guess we're also lucky to some degree because we're a project-based business, so we're able to focus on doing those little things well, focusing on what's best for our customers. And I think looking back, I think we were quite mature.
What's Fraser's view on people going back into the offices, and what role will offices play within businesses here in Australia moving forward?
Yeah, this is it's a pretty popular topic at the moment. I think there's a lot of different views, to be honest, and probably just different speculation as to how this all evolves.
The three of us are all at home right now while you're answering that question.
That's right. That's right. I actually, my own my own diary management's completely flipped. And now when I've actually got a day of back-to-back meetings, which are generally on Teams or Zoom, I generally stay at home.
Yeah.
And whereas now if I've got gaps in my calendar, that used to be how I might get some time at home. Now if I've got gaps in my calendar, I want to make sure I'm at the office so I can walk around and catch up with people. So look, personally, I think it's a permanent shift. I think it's brought forward a trend that would otherwise have happened anyway. I think it's a permanent shift, but it's nowhere near the end of office. So I think people personally just want to find their own balance and then find how their teams work most effectively. Then what you've got to do as an organisation is provide flexibility for those individuals and those teams to then do their work effectively. So I think the mix of work from home and the office is really positive on that basis. But you ask about the future of office. I think offices will always provide a place to collaborate, to innovate, socialise, build relationships. Those things that we've relied on now as part of this crisis management has been built up in the office. And I think it goes back to Nerida's point. It actually helps a business develop its culture and develop its brand. So, what the future of office is, and what we've got to be really smart about, probably is a better way to put it, is it also has to be somewhere people really want to be. So now they have that flexibility and now they have those options. How do we consider, and any office, whether it's an organisation or even thinking about providing offices as a landlord for an organisation, you have to think about what amenity, what technology, what facilities are required to make sure that people who come to the office have a great experience, and probably even more importantly, that you're able to even build community around that office itself. So I think they're the challenges, but look, there's no doubt that the future of office is actually very strong.
If I can switch it to retail, the future of retail, where is the upside of retail? Also making note that Fraser just successfully delivered Burwood Brickworks, which is a very big focus on sustainability, retail mix, and community and neighborhood, and have done a fantastic job, probably the more successful neighborhood centers in Victoria that I'm aware of. So is that where the future of retail is going, and what are you doing to plan in that sector?
Yeah, look, our positioning in retail is very much focused on that neighbourhood, what we call either neighbourhood or super neighbourhood, so slightly larger than what you would otherwise consider a neighbourhood shopping centre. But Burwood's one of those really interesting ones, in that it's just been a victim of COVID in that period since it's been open. So it opened earlier in the year. It was just before those restrictions were put in place, and so it's been limited in its ability to trade properly. And to be honest, I really personally feel for our awesome tenants down there. They've had a series of false starts, and it's been really hard for them to just get into a rhythm. And it makes it hard for us to really understand how all of that sustainability overlay really performs. But we are super confident that investment will pay off over time. I guess for us too, it's a representation that we do have innovation in our DNA as a business. So to push those boundaries and to think about what might be possible, Burwood Brickworks is a perfect example, because what we've done there is absolutely at the forefront of sustainability. It's actually, I don't think, ever been done, the living building challenge in a commercial environment. So that'll enable us to learn a lot and adapt those ideas and technologies into future projects. But I think broadly, retail, is a question mark as well. Same as what we were saying before around office. The future of retail is being discussed a lot here in Australia and overseas. So, my own view is I think the right retail will always thrive and will thrive long into the future. And the key elements, I think, of what provides that right retail is always thinking about the local context. So how are you relevant to your local context? Is it convenience, safety, it has to feel comfortable, and it's often the center of a community. That's what retail does. So the other way that you can, think about somewhat future-proofing retail, I think, is around making sure that there's experiences, in a center that can't be replicated online, for instance. So that might be food, it might be entertainment. It probably has to work in harmony with online retail as an evolution moving forward. And then I think you've got to adapt that space too. So how can you adapt that? Is it about partnering with logistics? Is it the extension of last mile logistics? All of those things. But what do you guys think? Do you think that there's going to be a significant change in how Australians use retail and how they see retail moving forward?
Yeah, look, I think it hasn't been as bad as I thought it would be at the start of the pandemic. I thought it would be far worse in terms of performance. And what has surprised me is office. So looking back at notes that I'd written in the third week of March, so that week after we went into lockdown, I thought, retail's really tough, and office will be fine. We'll be back in the office soon. Whereas what's transpired is this complete structural shift in the office market, whereas retail was already kind of happening, that shift to online, which has kind of accelerated it. So, I think that concept of revenge spending, I think that's likely, and we've seen it in the retail trade figures. But shopping locally, shopping at Harvey Norman having his record profit, talking to the Large Format Retailers Association, they're like, our members are really happy at the moment. So, I think it has been far more positive. But Zelman, you might have a little bit of a different perspective working in retail leasing.
Yeah, I think retail, way I was trained for the last 11 years doing retail leasing, is that retail is about customers and location. And customer is the first part of that equation. So you can call it any way you want, put it anywhere you want, have as much technology, but if you're rude to your customers and you don't have a good location, your business is going to suck anyways. Online has certainly advanced probably 5-6 years in the last 3 months, but it has met with the store where they're both working as a seamless business. So I think online used to be this nice to have to now a must have, and shops have become that must to have to that could work really well with the online. And if you look after what your customer wants, which is the convenience to choose between the two, you're home. And no matter what you're selling and how much the price is almost irrelevant. I think shopping centers both will have retail customers come in the door, and then online customers go out the back door. So logistics and malls and retail stores will become one. And that's part of that, both those worlds turning into one. And the quicker landlords can work out how to commercialize online retailing and embrace it, the quicker that road will just keep going.
Yeah, no, it's a good perspective. I think it always provides that. It's a point in a community. Often it's where people go and spend time, right? It provides things in addition to just that retail moment. So I think, like you say, if you really think about what that means for people, I think the future. And look, it might change a little bit in terms of how we do retail, but I think it's like you say, you get it right, and I think it'll be really successful.
Anthony, CBD versus suburbs. Obviously, you do both projects in both areas. I mean, what's your view on our CBD markets going forward? Yeah,
look, I think CBDs will always play a big place in Australian economy. So I think where they have traditionally provided, a large percentage of our GDP, it's where a lot of our jobs are located. I don't think that will change significantly. I think there is a little bit of, maybe there's already some trending into sort of suburban office and some of those types of things, but I don't think it'll structurally shift the way CBDs are positioned in our economy. One of the things I always think about is relative to other CBDs and global cities. I think the Australian CBDs are set up well, they function pretty well. And I think actually in addition to that, you can see all of our cities being able to grow. So I think you have to think about that in the same context of strong infrastructure investment, for instance, and how you do smart kind of mixed use developments around that infrastructure. That's going to be really important. But we've got, we always look at good opportunities in CBDs and we'll always do a mix, I think, as a business between, CBD focused development and suburban development.
Anthony, what would your advice be to young people in this market that will be starting their careers or starting new jobs, like you just started a new job? What would your advice be to them of how to kind of take advantage of the situation or to continue and grow their career?
Yeah, I guess there's sort of two levels, I guess. There's a personal level advice, I guess, that you could give, and professional level. So on a personal level, I think I'd just say to people, don't take yourself too seriously. Keep things in perspective. Don't be afraid to laugh, have fun. We often say it at Fraser's, it's such a great place to work because people are themselves, and we have a lot of fun, even though it's often can be quite stressful as well. But making sure that people balance their career with doing other things that they enjoy, having other interests. But on a professional level, I think this is a great opportunity to build resilience for people. So, my advice would be put your hand up, nominate yourself to work on a project or an initiative that you might not even know much about, but it'll at least allow you to get out of your comfort zone, probably learn new things about your business that you wouldn't otherwise know. And that's always been great for me to be able to do that. And that's how I've, I guess, developed a lot through my career. And that's probably the advice I'd pass down to people just starting out.
Anthony, what are some of the good or bad habits you're going to try to continue or kill post-lockdown in Sydney?
Yeah, I think if I had to probably pick a bad habit, it'd probably be just working more, mainly because of the convenience of just having the computer there, switched on, plugged in, all the screens working, etc., and probably just checking things later at night than I would normally or would have before that. So it'd be great to kill that. I'm trying to do that, but I think the good habit for me is actually maintaining that balance of working from home and working from the office. I think the thing that's done for me personally is I've been able to be more flexible with my exercise. So normally I'd run first thing in the morning, often before light. Now I've been actually going for a run at different times of the day to try to break up the mind drain of sitting on a Zoom call or a day-to-day, back-to-back Teams calls. And I have to admit, there's been plenty of times where I've been sitting on a Zoom call with probably a business shirt up top and a pair of running shoes and shorts on down below, to go straight after the meeting for a run. So maybe that's a bad habit. I'm not sure actually now that I say that, but I think of it as a good habit because it really does mix up your day and break your week up.
Good answer.
Have you improved your speeds and distances in running during COVID?
I don't know if it's improved. I probably maintain them. So that's probably a good thing. As I said, it's been this great opportunity to do it at different times. I normally am so regimented, thinking I've got to be in the office by that time, and now I just feel it's a bit more relaxed and a bit more, organic. About, I've got an hour now, I can go for a quick run. It's been a lot more relaxing, I think.
That's fun.
Right. All right, final question, Anthony. What do you see as the biggest opportunity to come out of this crisis?
If I think about this in a business context, I think the thing for me, one of the biggest things I think I've seen the trend is that people have come from facing the big global trends, frequent travel, big picture issues and all of those things that normally consume so much of people's time, to actually focusing more at that neighbourhood level, and how it sort of relates to them and their families. And to me, as an incoming CEO in a business that does what we do, the chance to enhance that sort of local community connection and that sense of belonging is a huge opportunity. And I think the rebalance, I guess, for want of a better term, that's given everyone is an opportunity to really rethink what's important. So for me personally, I think in addition to creating great places, it's more important than ever to create belonging. So that to me is a great opportunity, and how that evolves into the future is a really exciting thing for our business.
Great. Anthony, thank you for coming on. It was great to see you. I haven't seen you since before COVID, so really good to see you, and well done on the new role. It's really exciting to be coming in as a CEO at this time, particularly for such a great company as Frasers, so well done.
Yeah, thank you very
Thanks
much
very much
for taking the time. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's been really enjoyable actually. It's great to sort of chat about things like that, and as I said at the beginning, you guys are doing a great job just getting different opinions from different people, because it's really interesting to just hear where other people are fitting, and it's always good to catch up. Hopefully we get a chance to play in person.
Yeah.
We look forward to having you on again
Totally.
face to face next time.
That would be great.